always challenging being the first at anything, but how can these trailblazers and pioneers succeed and flourish? We are about to find out. There's a new book out called The Black Quarterback Syndrome: How to Succeed as a First or Pioneer in an Organization. It's right here on my lap, and it was written by Dr. Norm Davis. And Dr. Davis joins us now. Tell us a little bit about this. Good morning.
Good morning, Kristen.
Thank you so much for coming in.
Well, thank you so much for having me here.
Okay, what does this mean? What is the Black Quarterback Syndrome?
Well, it's a metaphor, of course, and I take the metaphor from what has existed for a long time, and that is that it was fairly commonly known that blacks were not allowed to play quarterback. You know, there was a time when it was for racist reasons, and then other times when it just became the question of, would whites be able to follow a black quarterback? In the South particularly, would white athletes want to take direction from a quarterback? And up to today, it's just, in my opinion, I've observed that it's just a matter of when you don't look like the prototype, that is the model or the way that all the other people looked.
Right.
People look at you with a little doubt, a little question. For example, there was a time when women were not in the position that you have.
Sure.
And so the first few, for example, in NPR radio, Susan Stamberg, there were questions about whether or not, despite the fact that she had the competencies, there were questions about whether or not she could do it. And of course, over time, she did prove that she could.
So this is how to overcome, you know, you think that you're a first and you're succeeding and you've got all these great things going on, but in fact, you're dealing with a lot more than other folks are dealing with. So you got some tips in this book.
Yes, I do.
On how to succeed and how to do that.
Well, one thing I think is to recognize that you have to be extremely competent, probably twice or 2 or 3 times as good as anyone else, the prototypes that were in your position. And I always recommend that people begin with what I call a 90-day winning plan. Emphasize the fact that in reality at work, you're in a competition with your coworkers. And so we shouldn't forget that. And in the 90-day plan, you think about what your vision is, what you want your future to look like in terms of your career, what's your mission, and then you have to figure out what are the gaps and move forward. Another one of the things that a first must do is to be very socially competent. So I even have in my book how to have a cocktail party, so that you can begin to learn how to throw a cocktail party, have a party curve where it begins slowly and it always ends when people are very, very happy and excited, because they always remember the end of a party. And you don't want the party to end dull, otherwise the people would think that it was dull.
You got to have to wrap it up when everyone's kind of ramped up, when everyone's in a good mood. And
yes, that's
right. Interesting, because you think about, you know, it's good to be good at what you know and it's good to do your job really well, but part of it is how you interact with people in the office and other people that you deal with, say if you call on people, right? I mean, that's the social aspect is important.
Relationships, 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 just like in real estate is location.
Sure. Right.
So I think that spend all of your time, or as much time as possible, in developing those relationships and bringing significant others along. And when I say significant others, I don't mean spouses and boyfriends and girlfriends. I mean people in the organization who have the right stuff and know what's going on.
How do you find those people, Dr. Davis? How do you find the good people that you need to surround yourself with?
Well, you see them in meetings. You see them standing out. They're always called on to be on committees. They're always called on to make presentations. And when you recognize these people, and sometimes they're 2, 3, or even 4 levels above you, what you do is you try to find out what their interests are. And if you have similar interests, for example, you might end up tutoring their child in Spanish or playing golf with them.
Sure.
Yeah, oh, golf. I recommend playing golf.
Golf is a big thing.
Oh, it's a huge thing.
Golf has nothing to do with golf half the time, right?
I don't think so.
I think so.
I was always a tennis person, but I wish I had learned to play golf much sooner.
But that's important in networking, right? And getting tips from them and kind of asking for their advice, right? Because I think it's better if you're humble, isn't it, when you go in? Humble,
but you know, at the same time, you have to let people know that you are good. And announce your victories. One of the things that I find that's common in many so-called minority group members and women is that it's hard for them to tell people about their successes.
They tap their own horns.
Yes,
toot their own horns.
They feel like it's bragging. But you must learn how to share your accomplishments and also share your resources with other people who share their resources with you.
Excellent. We keep talking about this all day. The book is The Black Quarterback Syndrome: How to Succeed as a First or Pioneer in an Organization. Thank you very much, Dr. Davis. Appreciate it.
Thank you for having me.
Excellent. Good deal.
Bye-bye.
Lots of good tips in that. All right, for more information and to find out where you can get this book, you just come to our website, WTNH.com, click on the Good Morning Connecticut Weekend section.